Today marked the beginning of my bike ride across Japan Seto Inland Sea along the famous Shimanami Kaido. This scenic route starts in the port city of Onomichi in Hiroshima Prefecture and stretches across 6 islands before ending in Imabari, a city in Ehime Prefecture on Shikoku Island, about 50 kilometers northeast of Matsuyama. I picked up my bike from the rental shop near the ferry terminal, and after a short ferry ride, the journey officially began on the first island, Mukaishima. A few days earlier, I learned that the weather wasn't going to be the typical sunshine that you often see in photos of this route. Instead, it was expected to rain at the start, only to clear up by the time I finished the following day. When planning trips like this in advance, weather is always the wild card. Day 1 covered the Hiroshima side of the journey, 4 islands and around 34 kilometers of riding. This is the first time I had ridden a bike in about 13 years. The course is easy to follow because blue lines and arrows mark the recommended direction, and some signs even show how many kilometers are remaining to your destination. Once I noticed a sign pointing back to Onomichi, I realized the mistake and got back on track. Each island is connected by long suspension bridges. I had arrived on the second island, Innoshima. On this island, I accidentally missed my turn onto the suspension bridge and added an extra hour to my journey. The next island was Ikuchijima. Here is where I originally planned to visit a spot called the Hill of Hope, but between the steady rain and lost time from the earlier detour, I made the call to skip it. Crossing onto Onomishima, I left Hiroshima Prefecture behind and entered into Ehime, officially reaching Shikoku. The Shimanami Kaido is known for its breathtaking views, but on a rainy day like this, it is a very different experience. Once I arrived on the island, I stopped by to get some snacks before heading to my accommodation. My accommodation for the night was on Onomishima Island. It was a quiet place, close to a few local restaurants, and even a public bath. I had also hoped to visit the nearby island, Onoshima, also known as Rabbit Island, which is home to wild rabbits and an eerie former poison gas factory. But the weather made that side trip unappealing. After visiting the nearby public bath, I headed across the road to get some dinner. I had tempura, it was really good. There really wasn't anything else to do on this island, so I had an early night. Such a lovely day for a bike ride. I made sure to have a decent breakfast, and then I was off. Day 2 of the Shimanami Kaido ride was shorter in distance, but tougher overall. The final island, Oshima, had far more hills than the previous ones. The rain was worse this day, but by the time I reached the final suspension bridge, the rain had worsened. It was so intense that even my Insta360 Go 3S camera, a camera designed for underwater use, stopped recording video. From that point on, I was left with only audio. This single photo became the only proof that I had of reaching the final destination, a pretty anticlimactic ending. So how was my overall experience of this bike ride? I was cold, I was soaked, my bike refused to change down gears, which meant I had to get off every time to adjust the chain by hand. And by the time I arrived in Imabari, I looked like a 90-year-old man who had gone to war with nature. I even needed kind assistance from the staff worker because my hands were so frozen I couldn't even grab the zipper of my bag. I missed out on several sites I hoped to visit, but there were some upsides. The accommodation was great, the staff were warm and friendly, and while I did ride alone, I did have a few nice conversations with locals, including an older man who was shocked to hear that it was 30 degrees in Melbourne. So would I do this again, hoping for sunny weather next time? If the opportunity came up, I would love to see the Shimanami Kaido again, even if it was without a bike. But with so much of Japan still left to explore, it is not high on my list at the moment. Still, despite everything, I'm glad that I managed to complete it. Sometimes, it is the difficult journeys that stay with you the most. And with that, it's on to the next city.